Hello everyone, this is the mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today as I take a deeper look into episodes 3 and 4 of SWV and XScape, the Queens of R&B. I will not be doing a full episode recap because there are other content creators who do a great job covering the show. Instead, I'm going to focus on specific segments of the episode that I believe can be used as teachable moments for myself and the audience. So before I started watching the show, I decided to take a look at Funky Daniva's review of episode 1 to determine whether or not I should watch the show at all. I have received a lot of DM requests on Instagram, and I was like, okay, what's the buzz about? And when he was describing the drama between Tamika, Tocha, and their mother about the stolen money, the first thing I thought was, the reason the mother is dismissing the accusations is because she may have benefited from the theft of the $30,000 in some way. That's the first thing that popped in my mind, right? But I hadn't watched the show yet, so I wasn't confident enough or comfortable making that assumption in my previous reviews of episode 1 and 2. So after I watched episode 2, I stated that Tocha and Tamika's mother is living vicariously through them. And she's the type of Christian church lady to use her children's success to vindicate her of any wrongdoing as a mother, right? Or as a person or a human being, period. Well, in episode 3, Mrs. Gloria, I believe her name is, Miss Gloria Scott, she was like, she is the 5th member of the group, implying that if it wasn't for her suffering and her sacrifice as a single mother, they would not be as successful as they are today. So Gloria seems to want all of the glory for her daughter's successes to the extent that she believes that she's entitled to everything that they have. Not that she'll take it all from them, but she sees her children as her property. So when Tamika defends herself, she takes it as insubordination and ungratefulness. So Gloria is projecting her abandonment issues and bitterness onto her children. She hasn't financially struggled, I don't think. In my opinion, I'm just assuming here, I don't think that since her daughters have become successful, she's financially struggled at all to any extent. I think that her daughters took care of her first, right? And the cost of living where they are is not that expensive. So they could have got her a decent home and, for a few $100,000 and she would have been cool, right? So I don't think she's really struggled the way she did when they were growing up for at least 20 years. But she seems to hold her pain over her children's head to keep them captive and submissive and subordinate to her. It's almost like Gloria does not want to heal from her past trauma because by doing so, she can't weaponize her pain against her children to keep them under her control. She can't manipulate them with something that her ex-husband did. So she wants to stay bitter to justify manipulating her children and psychologically and emotionally abusing them. And as long as they think that she's hurt, they will continue to cater to her. And Tocha does the same thing. So I'm not saying that she's not traumatized about her divorce and, losing her husband and all that stuff and being a single mother. I'm not saying that. But she seems like the type of woman who is upset that the marriage ended, not because she loved the husband, but because of what the marriage represented socially, right? I mean, it doesn't matter whether it was a healthy marriage or not. The social capital that comes with being a married woman, she misses that part of it. And she's bitter about losing that. Not about losing the husband, because she could have found somebody else, years later and married them. No, she's bitter about losing that title or that status of being a wife, more so than losing the husband himself, right? So by her being miserable all the time, she's holding her children hostage. And she knows this. And Latasha does the exact same thing with her sister and the group. The standoffish attitude is her way of emotionally and psychologically manipulating them. Because as long as she's upset, they're going to try to fix the problem that she created. Now she has their energy. Now she's in control of them. Now she's on their mind. Now they're going to do what she says to make her happy. So as long as I stay unhappy, I remain in control. Okay, so now let's go to Latasha. So last week I said that Latasha seems like the type to have an attitude because she wants you to feel guilty for something wrong that she's about to do to you. So since episode 1, she's had a stink attitude with the members of the group because she wants them to grovel and beg for her cooperation like a child. She's acting this way because she feels like she has better options for a solo career and like they're beneath her now. And also she's doing this the wrong way. She's going behind their back and doing this. So because she wants to be absolved of her wrongdoing, she's going to make them feel guilty about her stink attitude. So it's like, you've done something bad to me, which is why I have this attitude. So me betraying you is your fault. That kind of thing, right? So I can justify betraying you because this whole time I haven't been happy because of whatever you guys were doing to make me unhappy. But they weren't doing anything like that, not actively anyway. So she's kept this facade of like misery and discontent and, unhappiness and feeling, invalidated and disrespected and unappreciated, just so that when she goes to do her solo album, she can say, well, I haven't been happy for a while, we don't have a good dynamic. Yeah, that's because of you, right? She created the nasty dynamic between them and is using that dynamic to justify doing her solo career. Manipulation, okay? So LaTocha does not want her and Tamika to have a better relationship because their dysfunction and their separation strengthens her bond with her mother, who feels like if her daughters got close, they'd figure out that she's the puppet master manipulating both of them the entire time. So if LaTocha and Tamika get together, they figure out, oh wow, the reason why we can't get along is because of our mother putting these issues between us and creating this problem between us. We need to separate from her to have a better relationship. The mom does not want that. And she has programmed Tocha into not wanting it either. So she's programmed Tocha into wanting to be the prima donna, the one who is the most favored, or who receives preferential treatment, the one who's the leader, the one who's in charge, the boss, whatever you want to call it. She's conditioned her to accept that role so that she's getting a benefit from it. The benefit of being the preferred sister, the leader of the group. If she were to separate from her mother and side with Tocha, she would lose that position. She would lose that hierarchy, that power, right? And so that's why she doesn't have an incentive to work with her sister at all, or to try to figure out and fix things between her sister, because she needs this dynamic to feel superior. That's the way that her mother created division between her and her sister. And that is Willie Lynch 2.0. Willie Lynch was about creating divisions between the slaves using psychological warfare. Complexion, gender, age, skill set, physical appearance, all of those things that could be used to create division were used to keep us separated and divided from each other so that we won't overthrow the slave master. And Tasha's mother would be the slave master in this situation. Same old mentality, the same old taxes. So LaTocha's mother treats, her like the prima donna, and she wants the members of XScape to do the same thing. Yes, I think she is the strongest singer of the group by a hair, but to be honest, XScape wasn't popping in New York City like that. Sorry. They had a couple of hits, but they weren't classics to me. So in episode 4, Tamika becomes the creative director for the show, for the concert. And that's because LaTocha has been too busy with her own agenda to contribute to the group, right? But then she gets jealous when Tamika enthusiastically shares her great ideas for the team. So Tamika is more focused on the vision of the groups working together, while Tasha's focused on herself, which is why she's so disconnected and so jealous and so isolated. And this is the way that her mother groomed her to be. When you're insecure and when you're always competing against other people, you become isolated. You can't cooperate with anyone. You can't collaborate with anyone. You're always afraid of somebody taking over your spot or stabbing you in the back, because that's what you plan on doing. Okay? So she had the nerve to say that Tamika was taking the creative director role from her, just like she took the sisterhood from her. And I'm like, she doesn't even be part of the group. She's jealous and she's full of crap. Tasha wants to give the group her ass to kiss. So Tasha wants to give the group her ass to kiss, but she wants to make time-sensitive executive decisions when she feels like showing up. When she feels like showing up, that's when I'll make decisions for the whole group. That's not how this works. And then Tocha says she wants to sing gospel to inspire and uplift people, which is a straight cap, because she's doing it for her ego. She's not inspiring or uplifting to her group members or her sister. So how is she going to do this for her fans? She wants to do gospel or sing gospel, not be the gospel. Just like her toxic mother and a lot of these fake ass Christians who use religion to absolve themselves of the responsibility of being decent human beings. So as long as you say you love the Lord, you can do whatever you want, including steal money from your own family and then try to shame them into silence, right? A lot of Christian women think that standing by a cheating, low down, dirty man, taking abuse from elders, it makes them holy, God-fearing, and righteous. But most of the times they stay with that man who's cheating, right, out of ego, because having a husband in the Bible Belt is a status symbol and it's a badge of honor. So you'll betray your own sister and emotionally abuse your own daughter, right, because of a damn man. But if your sister makes a comment about you having a small booty, it's World War III. There have been rumors swirling around about Tocha's husband cheating for a while, okay? And she seems like the type that would stay married to her husband because Tamika's still married. So she would never leave her husband as long as Tamika still has a husband. Absolutely not. So no matter what the rumors are saying, she's not going to leave her husband unless Tamika leaves her husband. And I don't see Tamika doing that. She seems to love him a lot. So she's competing with Tamika still. So Tocha's reluctant to forgive Tamika for the small booty comment because she knows exactly who stole her money. But she's going to emotionally manipulate Tamika into feeling bad about not speaking so that Tamika ends up apologizing about everything, including having her money stolen. And that's the objective. I'm not sure if it's going to work, but the plan is to blame Tamika for the rift in their relationship. And the only way she can fix this is to take accountability for hurting her mother and Tocha's feelings, and then let all bygones be bygones, including having her money stolen. So the only way Tocha and Gloria are going to forgive Tamika is if she forgives them for stealing her money and dismissing her feelings for all these years, okay? So I don't have much to say about Tamika except that I love her energy and I'm so proud of her for sticking up for herself against her mother and Tocha. Gloria and Tocha have a strong psychological and emotional hold on her, and she's starting to find her voice. So I'm very happy for her. In episode 3, Gloria visited Tamika and pretty much like shouted her down and screamed at her to make her feel guilty about asking about what happened to her money. What happened to her $30,000, right? Then she brought up some old trauma that had nothing to do with Tamika to make her feel sorry for her so that she could let her guard down, start crying, and then look to her mother for comfort again. So I'm going to psychologically and emotionally break you down, right? Make you cry so that I can comfort you. Okay, this is narcissism too. So Gloria has transferred her anger, her bitterness, and her trauma onto her daughters, especially Tamika. And then she put the responsibility on them to make her feel better about her life because she low-key blames them for having to struggle as a single mother, which is why she took credit for their success. And she thinks she's a fifth member of the group to the point where she deserves $30,000 in royalties. That's why I think she took the money. Miss Gloria and Tocha's husband were probably in on it. Okay, if you think you're the fifth member of the group, why wouldn't you have the issues taking money? Especially if it wasn't for you, your daughters wouldn't be successful. It's all because of you. Everything they are and everything they ever will be is because of you. I'm not saying that she didn't do a good job, right? I don't think that Miss Gloria doesn't love her children. She does in the way that she can, but her love is intertwined with like fear and toxicity and anxiety and, abandonment issues. So when you love somebody out of fear, it becomes toxic and abusive. And I'm going to talk about that with Martell in my next discussion in terms of Martell saying that he doesn't want to settle down now. Okay. So I love the ideas that Tamika had for the show. Even if they weren't perfect, you could tell that she was excited about it. And her enthusiasm was infectious, and it boosted the morale of the groups after Kandi's disrespectful comments last week. When you have a group member that's about the team and working together on the goal, they're invaluable. They're the glue that brings people together, right? So I'm so happy she took the lead in this, okay? The horses were a bit much. But I love the compromise of having like the large screens and the 90s scenery. I'm glad Tamika took the lead because Tocha was too worried about her own career and Kandi was too worried about billing and money. So now on to Kandi. Okay, oh my God, Kandi. So as I mentioned before, I had no idea about the beef between XScape members, especially Tocha and Kandi. Because in New York City, they weren't popping like that. They had a couple of hits, but none of them were really classics like SWV, right? So after seeing how Kandi thinks when it comes to business, I absolutely do believe that she had something to do with Tocha not getting her solo deal in the 90s. Kandi is by far the worst singer in the group. Okay, I'm not saying she can't sing at all, but I remember that intro from Real Housewives of Atlanta, and I'm like, why did they keep that in there season after season? So she's not the strongest singer in the group. She may be a great songwriter, that's good, but how did the worst singer in the group get the solo deal over Tocha, Tamika, and Kandi? Okay, she's a good songwriter. I'm not going to take that from her. But to be honest, I think that Kandi was extremely lucky to be in the right place at the right time. Because in the 90s, they were signing anybody. It was huge in the South. You had So Def, you had the Face Records, you had a few record companies that were like, they were hiring anybody, right? Talent or not, they could make a star. That's what happened with TLC. That's what happened with XScape. That's what happened with a lot of groups in the South. That, you took individuals who were not that strong as solo artists, and you brought them together, and they were really good groups. That was the formula. Okay, so yeah, they were signing anybody back in the day. I'm not saying that Tamika, Tiny, and Tocha can't sing, but they weren't doing it like that. They had a good production and good songwriting, and it was good timing. So for Kandi to have an issue with co-headlining with SWV because of billing, and she doesn't need the money. She has like 3 reality shows, restaurants, businesses. Like, she seems to be money hungry to me. And she was willing to jeopardize a professional relationships and friendships for a couple of $100,000 more than she didn't even need. Didn't Tiny say she had 4 houses? They're not hurting for money. Why would you disrespect SWV and embarrass yourselves with the 7 million albums sold, like Coco said, by thinking you deserve to get paid more with less classics, less talent, and less album sales? Let me tell you, okay, in New York City, because I'm from Brooklyn, in the 90s, SWV was the vibe, period. I remember singing their songs with my classmates in elementary school, in the cafeteria, during talent shows, at prom, playground, during recess. I remember my older sister listening to SWV when she was getting ready for work or school. I remember SWV at the block parties, birthday parties, cookouts. Like, they were everywhere. They were the soundtrack to my childhood. I don't remember XScape like that. Yes, No Scrubs was a smash, written by Kandi and Tiny, but that was TLC. So for Tiny to say something ridiculous like their reality TV fans will be attending a concert, that's the problem right there. They only became more relevant because of reality TV and TI's serial temptation and drama, not the damn music. And we only know SWV for their music for the most part. That's what the concert's about, music. Not Kandi's sex toy line, right? Not her husband, and not T.I. putting his foot in women's vaginas during their sex parties. People want to hear classic music, okay? Not only that, but XScape has like its own internal drama. Half the group doesn't like each other, and they want top billing? No. If I was Coco, I would have said the same thing. Like, what are you talking about? You can't even be gracious enough to share the bag evenly, even though you have less album sales, less classics, less talent, and less cohesion as a group. We just came off an international tour, okay? We have what, 10, 20 times more streaming numbers than you do on Spotify? Really? We sold 30 million albums to your 7. We sold 3 times more albums. You're still selling to this day. No, I'm sorry. They were a vibe. I'm sorry. I cannot state it enough how much I loved SWV as a group growing up. They were everywhere. And the music is still, it's still vibes to this day. It's classic music you can listen to for generations after generations. Like, it's not going to stop. So this reality show, your reality show fans, that's not boosting your album sales. Obviously not. And it's not boosting your streaming numbers either. So that was disrespectful to me. And I do think, again, that Kandi is money hungry. Okay. So yeah, I don't know much about Kandi, but she seems to be money hungry. And some money hungry people will destroy good personal and professional relationships for short-term gain. So I do understand why Tocha would feel some kind of way about Kandi if that's what happened. But that doesn't justify Tasha's behavior 40 years later. It's over now. If you're still working with them, it should be past you. You walking around stink like you're a diva, it's not going to work. It's not cute. You're going to hurt your own brand. All right, Coco and Taj. I love the conversation that they had with Coco's son about him quitting dentist school to pursue singing. And Taj said what I would have said. Like, you can pursue the singing, but you need something to fall back on because the music industry will chew you up and spit you out. Her son already expressed that he has like depression and mental health issues. I don't know how he'll deal with the stress of being in the industry with the drugs and the promiscuity and the backstabbing and all the pressure. Like, if he thinks dental school is hard, the music industry is a lot harder with a greater chance for failure. I think it's great that Coco is letting him find things out for himself, and she'll definitely have his back. You know, he can sing okay, but he's not a singer. Like, he doesn't want to end up in a situation where he has to use the casting couch to compensate for his average singing skills. He's not a bad singer, but he's not singing like that. Like, there are background singers that can sing him under the table, you know? And I wonder if he's interested in doing that. Like, start background singing first to get your feet wet in the industry, figure out what's going on, make some money doing that, and then figure out whether or not you want to stay in school. I don't think going to like from nothing to being in a solo, having a solo career at this point, that's not going to work. I don't think. I think he should, if he's serious about it, start off background singing like many people do. Whitney Houston was a background singer when she started. Tamar was background singing, you know, back in the day. Like, that's not something to be ashamed of. Start off doing that. You know, that's not a problem. Now, finally, Lily. I have one thing to say about her. Well, first of all, that little what did Taj bring to that lunch? She had a couple of slices of meat. What was that supposed to be? What was that supposed to be? I would have went to Krispy Kreme and bought a bunch of donuts, and then went to whatever spot they got down there for chicken and did that. Like, I mean, I know they're on a diet, but no. What was that? What was the 3 pieces of meat, some ham? There was no. I don't know what that was. Anyway. Why would Lily narrate her sex book to her manager? And why was the pastor's penis so long and visible in the church? That whole scene was very cringe. I would not read that out loud to somebody I wasn't trying to seduce. Like, was she trying to seduce the manager? Why would you read something like that to him? Why would he want to hear that? So I like the idea for the sex audio book, I guess. It's almost like the chat lines they had in the 90s that people would call up to have phone sex with people online. I guess that's what they were doing. What they call it, party line, something like that. I think there's a market for that to some extent because, you know, with the whole, what's that called? That app that nobody listens to anymore? Clubhouse. People were going on Clubhouse and, you know, using that for whatever. There's a space for that somewhere. There's a space for everything. So I don't think it's a bad idea. But I would have rather her have read those like little excerpts to Taj and Coco and the women, not the manager. It was weird. But I like Lily's laid back energy. She's chill, but she's direct and unproblematic. And yeah, I like her vibe. I like the balance between the two groups. They're all older now. Their egos have been checked a little bit. Coco said she had a bit of an ego when she was younger. Not surprisingly, she was the lead singer of the group. I'm not sure if Lily's a strong singer like that, but Coco had a lot of success. She was that girl, and she does have some mental health issues too, so that could have exacerbated her ego problems. Like with bipolarism, you have this manic state where you think you're better than everybody and like the world should serve you, and like Kanye West, and then you go to this depressive state where you become suicidal or very violent, something like that. So I understand that she has some struggles, but I'm glad she's getting treatment for it and she's doing much better. I love the chemistry they have on the show. I like the show because it's not all about the ratchet and the drama. They have a specific goal that they're working towards. Like what Love Marriage Huntsville used to be with the Comeback Group. When you have a show that's based on a productive goal, we're all working together to accomplish something, that's a great show. When you're more interested in the drama now between the cast members, it becomes bullshit after that. It loses its spark or becomes too toxic because you're not focused on anything productive besides the drama between the cast members, okay? All right, guys, but I'm gonna leave it there. If you want to order a personal astrology or tarot reading from me, my site is back online. I look forward to reading your feedback. Please like, share, and subscribe. And